What's up, guys? Welcome to the Joji Show, where we talk about everyday life things. My name is Joe, and I'm glad you're here. This week, we're going to talk about myths, and we'll try to figure out how do people get into these myths, what's wrong with them, and actually how we can prove them wrong. I'm going to go over a few. I don't think I have all of them, listed here, so feel free to add a few of yours in the comments. And if you disagree with anything, let me know. Let's talk about it, okay? Before we get into it, please remember to subscribe to the channel and like the video so that we can continue to bring great content. Alright, number one of the biggest myths I've had people talking about is never go to bed angry. And it just says that if you go to bed when you're angry at your spouse or significant other, that it gives it time to fester and it gets worse, and the reconciliation just doesn't have a chance anymore. And I actually think it's far from that, and it's the opposite. There are times when if you're in an argument or in some heated discussion and it's not getting anywhere, instead of just beating it up until you get it solved, sometimes it's better to take some time apart and go to bed and give yourself time to cool down, give yourself time to think and reassess. Maybe you're so dug into your own viewpoint that you fail to see the other one, but sometimes that time apart will allow you to cool down, see the other perspective, and then when you come back and talk about it, you might even get reconciled. But the idea that you just keep at it all night long so that you don't go to bed angry, it just defeats the purpose. And if both of you feel that way and one person decides, fine, I'm done trying to prove a point, then they just compromise and let it go, but they're not happy. They just realize that they did not want to keep this going, or you just continue to have a pointless argument. And I think both of those are unhealthy. Number two says, do everything together as a couple. And again, we talked about this before, but I think that's just not accurate. There is, of course, where you two got together and there's a reason why you like each other and you want to spend time together and do a lot of activities together, have fun together, but it doesn't mean that you do everything together. You can have your own interest and they can have their own, and they can be their own person and you can be your own person, and sometimes that involves you having your own interest and hobbies and things that make you happy that have nothing to do with the other person. And you have to just respect each other on that end and allow each other the space to be independent, to be an individual, so that when you get back together, you have fun and you're healthy together that way. But when it's time to go do things you like separately, respect that too and enjoy it for yourselves. Number three says it's a 50-50 deal, that a relationship is 50-50. I'm gonna put in 50% of what we need and they're gonna bring in the other 50%, and together we have a whole. And you should not look at it that way. I mean, in some cases where you have shared bills, yeah, you may share your bills 50-50, but in terms of keeping the relationship going, in terms of actually having an actual functioning healthy relationship, it's not 50-50. You don't put in your half and I put in my half and somehow we make it work. But it's you do everything. If something is not done, if the other person's falling behind, or if you just see that something needs to be done, don't look at it like, I did my half and they have to do the other. I did all the laundry, they have to fold it. And that's the way it always is, and it's just a strict approach to that. But instead, if you have the time and they don't, and you see something needs to get done, then you get it done and you do it. But then also remember, communication is key, so that if you're finding yourself always picking up the slack for the other person and you talk about it, then you find a way to compromise and adjust. But ultimately, you can't just sit there and say, I'm going to do my first half and they do the second. I'm going to just take out the trash and the other person has to then figure out, do the dishes or do the laundry or whatever it is, and dishes continue to pile because it's not your job to do it or your responsibility. But instead, you work together, each person brings 100% effort, and together you work as mature people in a relationship who, at the end of the day, your goal is to have a happy relationship and not just to check off a box. Then here's another one that says happy people or people in a good happy relationship don't argue, and that is far from the truth. As long as you're two separate individuals who sometimes are going to have two separate opinions, two separate perspectives, two very different sometimes jobs or emotions, whatever it is, you are going to at some point disagree on something, but it doesn't mean that that minute when you disagree, it's time to come down and it's time to disintegrate and this is the end of the thing. But a healthy relationship sometimes needs that honesty, which is where sometimes you face a disagreement and you come together, but you don't ugly fight or just have this I'd call it unproductive argument, but instead you put out your perspective and they do theirs and you talk about it and then you find a way to compromise and work together. And this should happen frequently, meaning whenever you have something to bring up, you're comfortable enough to bring it up, but it shouldn't be that it's not constructive or it shouldn't be that it's always ending up in chaos. But also on the other hand, you can't just think that you're going to always have a blissful life. That's a big lie. Another one that says kids come first, and that is far from the truth as well. Kids don't come first. The kids are important. You want to take care of your kids. You want them to have the best life ever. You want to do everything you can as a parent to take care of them, to give them that good life, to let them feel loved and well taken care of, and to make them feel important. But they don't always come first in a relationship, and they do not get to disrupt your relationship on the regular. There are going to be times when you have to pause things to do whatever needs to be done for them, but with proper planning, with proper anticipation, you should be able to anticipate those things so that they're not always causing a disruption, they're not always forcing you to make a choice or change plans last minute to account for them, but instead you know what's coming up for them and you have some sort of schedule or some idea of what you guys need to get done for them, and then you're doing that. And every once in a while they'll throw you a curveball because they're kids and they don't plan properly, and you can accommodate it. But if every day or every week you are planning for them and accommodating them, and one person has to sacrifice for the other or the relationship has to sacrifice for the kids, it just becomes unhealthy. And so do not kid yourself. Kids don't come first, but kids are very important. Which leads to the next one that says kids will make everything better. That when you have a problem in your relationship, if it's getting all kind of wonky and it's, whatever it is, you're not feeling love, you're not feeling like you're connecting, you don't feel like you have anything in common anymore, you forgot why you came together, you don't solve it with a kid. That is actually just going to make it worse. If you think you get into a spot where you need to address your issues, then you do, but you don't address that by bringing some innocent child into this world that didn't ask for, because ultimately they're going to come back to the previous thing and disrupt everything, and now you're going to be mad not only at your spouse but at the kid too, and they're going to be miserable and everybody's miserable. So no, do not try to have a kid just so that you can find a way to bond back again. Instead, take some time, think about it, look and see what can we do to get better, and together you work at it and you get better together. But do not add a kid unless you are ready for a kid, but not to make it better, but because you're ready for a kid. And finally, this is a bonus one I just thought about. People always say, and I think about this all the time, that an apology will make things better. That, if you wronged somebody and then now you find out that you made a mistake and you honestly apologize and you expect the other person to forgive you, it also sometimes people think, well, I apologized, you accepted my apology, you shouldn't be mad anymore. And that's incorrect. Just because you apologized and just because it got accepted doesn't mean that the other person stops being stung by what happened. They're still wronged, they're still aggrieved, and they have the right to deal with it as they choose. They can forgive you and be willing to move on, but it doesn't mean they'll forget. It doesn't mean they'll forgive you and move on at your own time. It's at their own time. So don't kid yourself. Do not assume that an apology will automatically fix it or that an apology will automatically get accepted, but instead, just do your best and be a decent person. And if you make a mistake, apologize and hope they accept it and give them time to heal or give them time to get over it. And that's just how you have a better, more productive life together. Anyway, that's it for today. Next time we'll talk about some more of this. If you have any to add or suggest, just put them in the comments below. Also, do not forget to hit that subscribe button and encourage us by sending us your thoughts, your opinions, send an email or a question or whatever it is, and we'll be happy to talk about it. All right? Until next time, goodbye.